It's 2 o'clock, so I'll call a commission meeting to order, Thursday, May 21st. There's no one here for public comment. I would like to have everybody stand for the invocation, and I'd ask Commissioner Elliott to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after the invocation. Our dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the day and the opportunity we have to meet and discuss the items for the Joint Water and Sewer Commission. Father, we thank you for every one of our staff members and the hard work they do in maintaining this system and serving our customers. And Father, just help us to all have a servant's attitude as it comes to working with the customers and everyone that we come in contact with. Father, we just ask healing for our country and for our community. And we just pray, Father, that as the country is being reopened, that everyone will have safe precautions and that the economy would come back like it was. And we can always remember that you're in control of everything. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, I would like to adjust the agenda. So I move that item 10 to a discussion item and add as an approval item 1, self-insurance, and move all other approval items down accordingly.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions about the motion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. We'll proceed with the committee updates. We had our facilities committee meeting yesterday, and we approved, the facilities committee approved a contract award for the water and sewer master plan update. Also, change order number 1 for the engineering for the Splice North Mainland Phase 3. And we had several infrastructure and easement dedications and deeds, which the facilities committee approved all of those. It was including 3 pump stations that we've been operating for years that we really did not have title to, and now we have title to those once the paperwork is complete. We've also approved execution of the GFA loan. That GFA loan is for the amount of $15 million, but it's been revised to include $750,000 of forgiveness, which is in turn a grant, in other words, which is good news. And the Facilities Committee also approved the joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geologic Survey. This is for the modeling of the saltwater plume and the sampling that takes place on that. And we'll discuss that in a few minutes. We discussed the Coastal Club revised comprehensive agreement, and that's going to be under the discussion in this meeting. And then we had some good news on the water pollution control plants. The Academy Creek plant is well within permit and is operating at 51% of its capacity. The Dunbar Creek plant is well within its permit and is operating at 73% of its capacity. And Southport plant is operating at 28% of its capacity and is well in permit. So we just need to acknowledge the hard work that our operators do at all 3 of these plants. And one of these days, we would like to invite the public to just go out and see what these plants look like. I mean, they're well-run plants, and we need to be proud of them. And so I just commend our staff for that. And then we had a project report. We've got several projects ongoing. The State Route 99 water main project is complete now. The Ridgewood Water Production Facility is ahead of schedule. We'll be rebidding some of the North Mainland pump stations, but the CIPP work on the North Mainland project is finished. And we're taking bids on the pump station 4003 modifications on June 3rd. Magnolia water line improvements, we're going to rebid that. And of course, the L Street water improvements, That's entering phase 2 and 3, and hopefully that'll be moving ahead. Pump station 4021, the bids came in over budget, and we will be modifying the plans and rebidding that project. Also, there's good news in that the CPOM CIPP, this is modifying or repairing some of the sewer lines, has started work, and that should take probably about 3 months, I think. We also have an RFP out for engineering services for providing water and sewer to the ARCO area. The Brockington Sewer Rehab is complete, and staff, distribution system staff has started replacing some galvanized water lines throughout our system. And as we will have in a few minutes, we did approve the update for the master plan, and that's required because we've got new population projections by both the city and the county, and they've completed comprehensive plans, and we need to incorporate that into our master plan, and also there's some other improvements that we're going to have on that project. It was a good meeting, and I just want to commend the commissioners for their participating in that meeting. And now I'd like to proceed with the Finance Committee and have the chairman of that committee, Commissioner Duncan, give a report.
Thank you, Chairman. Very briefly, we have recommended approval of a number of items for funding and for approval by this board. First one of significance, Chairman has already mentioned the engineering services. We approved that for the water and sewer master plan update, which when that's available, that'll be the 5-year renewal, if you will, of our plan. Also, the Finance Committee endorsed the GIFA loan. We approved a leak adjustment and also the appointment of our auditor for our business. Discussion items focused on 2 items. One was the timing of capital fee payments. That remains a discussion. We've yet to roll out just where we're going with that. Some of the discussion centers around changing the timing. That is, instead of, for example, as a developer that may do 10 or 20 lots, for example, they might have the option of not paying the capital fee up front, but the ultimate builder or lot owner would pay that. Again, that's not ready for prime time yet in terms of a specific process, but directionally that's where we're going. And then finally, on discussion, we had the financial statement presented, and in short, we're very close to budget, and our forecasts indicate that we'll land very, very close to budget on year end. So that completes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Duncan. We had a Human Resources Committee meeting, and Commissioner Elliott, can you give a report on that, please?
Yes, sir. The Human Resources Committee meeting met yesterday to discuss self-insurance of our health care. It was an outstanding presentation by the staff. This has been going on since really we started the new year in January, working with what can we do to help improve our control over how much we spend in insurance dollars. The presentations were outstanding. Everyone did a lot of hard work in looking at this issue, and it'll be the next item that we discuss for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Elliott. We'll now move to the approval section. Item 1 is self-funded insurance.
That's under your tab 11 in your notebooks, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion on this item. I move that the Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve moving to a self-funded health insurance program with United Healthcare to begin August 1st, 2020, as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raising your right hand.
And I'm just going to abstain, just out of an abundance of caution of a conflict of interest.
Motion carries 6-0 and one abstention. Item 2 is the minutes from the April 16th, 2020 regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the minutes from the meeting of April 16, 2020 as submitted.
Motion is there a
Second.
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 Motion second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is minutes from the April 16th, 2020 executive session.
I move to approve the minutes from the executive session, April 16, 2020 as submitted.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions, comments?
Got one question, sir. If we have a question concerning this, I guess we have to go into executive session to discuss it. Am I right?
Sorry.
If we have a question on our minutes, executive session, we have to go back in the back to, what happened?
Our executive session minutes?
Yes.
Yes, sir, that'd probably be best, but, I mean, otherwise you can just whisper in my ear.
Do we have an
You're the
executive?
wrong section, whisper in your ear.
Charlie, are we gonna have an executive session?
No, sir, there wasn't one planned.
Okay.
I'm good. I just a question, cause it's just a question. I'm good though.
And I missed the executive session. I had to leave early, so I'll abstain from that vote as well.
No further comments. All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Would you please pass those forward to me, please?
I gave you mine to pass down.
Oh, sorry.
Multi-purpose.
Next item is a contract award engineering services for water and sewer master plan update. Mr. Burris.
Yes, sir. Staff went out for a master plan update RFP on April 10th of 2020. We received the proposals May the 5th, and we then held interviews with the 5 firms that submitted proposals. The highest scoring firm was Four Waters Engineering. Four Waters Engineering did the last master plan that we did. So from an update perspective, with the recently released comprehensive plans with the city and the county, they're going to take that data and update the plan accordingly. Also, in this, we will be getting a cash flow model for capital projects and a project database that will allow us to adjust project cost and timing as real conditions occur so that our plan doesn't remain static from 5 years ago. So staff recommends awarding to Four Waters Engineering. It will require a budget adjustment to $247,500 to award this contract, and recommend pulling that from the uncommitted R&R balance of $2.4 million.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve increasing the budget amount for Project 2024 and awarding a contract for the water and sewer wastewater master plan update to Four Waters Engineering in the amount of $247,500.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is the change order number 1, Splice North Mainland Phase 3 Rehab Engineering. Mr. Burris.
Yes, sir. Phase 3 of the Splice North Mainland project is to increase pumping capacity at 2 downstream pump stations, as well as install a force main down Harry Driggers and Canal. Our original design plans had the force main turning down Old Jessup Road, going underneath the Altamaha Canal and then underneath the railroad before discharging into the downstream pump station. After re-examining, it appears we can utilize existing gravity structures downstream of the currently terminated force main point on Ogden. However, to get the required easements and redesign, there was a requested change order from the engineer. Also involved in this is a design and construction administration on a 12-inch water main extension down Canal Road that will be funded separately from the SPLOST project, but constructed at the same time of the SPLOST project. So the engineering portion for that is $36,000. That will not be paid with SPLOST funds. The $44,800 for the force main redesign is coming out of the Splice North Mainland project. Total combined change order amount, $80,800.
Just to reinforce our understanding, the net of this is that while we're doing a design change and the engineering design cost increase, our overall project cost will go down specifically as related to this change.
Yes, sir. This change will eliminate the need to go underneath the canal and a railroad crossing. With those two changes, we expect to save at least $200,000 with this change.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve change order number 1 to North Mainland Phase 3 engineering contract in the amount of $80,800.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions, comments?
So I thought some time ago we had established the precedence that if a total project budget is X and there's changes within it that don't change the total project value, that didn't have to come to us.
The agreement, any capital funds that are agreed to with change orders have to be approved by the commission per current practices, but we could change our policies to do that.
I thought we had a couple years, maybe I'm just
We
misremembering, but-
discussed it. I don't know if we ever did an official policy
I
change.
mean, my
to that.
theory is if you've got, just say you're building this room and it's $100,000 in construction and 25 in furniture, and you end up spending, 20 in furniture and 105 in construction, okay. Same price for the project budget didn't go over. So, we're not approving any additional funding. We're just approving how the funding within the funding is split.
I think it'd be a good process to go forward after this.
Yeah, I thought and if we hadn't done that, then, I guess we need to get this approved, but I thought that's what we had done at some point in the
Okay,
past.
So what that would do is allow the executive director to approve the changes.
Right, because he's not asking for any more money, is my understanding. He's actually asking for less money. So, it's just a means of which bucket it goes in. And if I'm not doing a good job explaining it, I can take more time. I'm just trying to give a very quick, high-level summary, but essentially, we're not approving any more money for the project. We're just approving which bucket within the project the money's spent.
Well, it might be good to do that, but it needs to come before the commission for discussion, at least so we'll be aware of it, more than likely, just that part.
I
So we'll
think
be
at
aware
least
of it.
needs to come before the committees.
Yeah, just so that we be aware of how the change went through, or whatever.
Yeah, if that's the way y'all want it, that's fine. But,
No.
if he says, it's a $25,000 project, and I'm planning on spending 12 on pipe and 12 on paving, it doesn't really matter to me if he spends,
Well, I think we give him
Eleven
authorization to do
paving, 13
25,000 anyhow, right?
sir.
We give him authorization to spend 25,000, up to 25,000, I believe, anyhow.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Well, 25 is just a random
Oh,
number.
just a round number you
It's
said,
it's
yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah.
And 500,000 of it's pipe and 500,000 of it's paving, and he comes and says, I need $1 million. If the paving ends up being $495 and the pipe ends up being $505, he's not asking for additional money.
Right, right, but I think he still needs to bring it for discussion, so let's at least inform us of what he's doing. That's all.
This is a fairly significant change, is the way they're doing it, in my opinion.
The alignment is different,
Yes.
remarkably different. It's beneficial to do this, but it is, the scope differential is a material value in my view. I don't disagree what Commissioner Stevens is offering. I think that's a good practice to do that, and it provides a flexibility to the executive to continue to move projects along.
Right.
On the other hand, with others it's beneficial at least that we know such changes at least at the committee level. Financially, it's a positive on this particular one. I suggest that we act on the motion in second, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is infrastructure and easement dedications and deeds. Mr. Klein?
All right, Commissioners, good afternoon. The item before you is a group of 6, or actually 8, excuse me. We added a couple last minute, but 8 dedications. This is good before facilities yesterday was presented. It's a fairly routine action in the process of either private development activities where they're extending water and sewer to a development. The portion within the right-of-way is typically dedicated to the joint water and sewer at the conclusion of the project. And then this is also a few pump station dedications as well. So that's further action on our efforts to clean up the property ownership issues of Relic. There's attachments and exhibits for each one of the dedications that are proposed, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there a cheat sheet for how somebody could start that process? I had somebody ask me the other day, they're part of a small association, and they've got some infrastructure they wanted to dedicate and didn't even know how to start.
There's, if you go to our website, specifically on the planning and construction portion of the website, there's a document that can assist them with that.
Also, yeah, they can reach out to planning and construction, and we can provide
We're
that
happy
to
to
them.
take a phone call and work them through it.
Sorry, one question.
Yes, sir.
Todd, this is the same list provided to Facilities Committee yesterday that
Same
was
list.
endorsed.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
I said 6 items, but 8 items. Same list that was presented this year.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve the documents supporting the acceptance of infrastructure for 1, Pump Station 410, 2, Pump Station 4134, 3, Pump Station 4122, 4, Mendez Force Main Extension, 5, Clover Corner, and 6, Silver Bluff Brewing Company as public infrastructure for ownership and operation and maintenance.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. GFA loan approval, Mr. Burrs.
Yes, sir. Back in September, we approved GFA loan in the amount of $15 million, which we were then having to get city and county approval for environmental services agreement. We reached back out to GFA as that process was going on, and they're allowing us to go forward with this loan without city and county sign-off. So this will be entirely on the back of JWSC. And during that process, we were awarded a $750,000 principal forgiveness. So we went back and asked for help, and they gave us a whole lot of it. So the request today, and it was presented to the Finance and Facilities Committee yesterday, is to authorize the chairman and myself to execute all the documents necessary to process the loan. It is 2.38% interest for 30 years.
Mr. Chairman, I'll offer the motion. There's a two-part motion here, and I'll state it together. I move to recommend that the chairman and executive director be authorized to execute and attest to the appropriate loan documents to execute the GFA loan number CW2019008 and to be so reflected on the attached Schedule F that's in our packet. Also, I move that the commission approve the chairman and executive director, deputy director, deputy of finance be authorized to sign for draws on the GFA loan, CW2019008.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. I have one question. The $750,000 forgiveness, that makes our total loan $14,250,000.
That is correct, yes, sir.
The loan and the forgiveness total $15 million.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next item is USGS Joint Funding Agreement. Andrew Burrs.
Yes, sir. For the past 7 years, we've been contracting with U.S. Geological Survey to do groundwater testing and modeling on the saltwater intrusion into the upper Florida aquifer. Request is to extend that agreement. It is a 50-50 agreement with U.S. Geological Survey. We put up $60,000 and they do as well to continue the groundwater monitoring and modeling of that plume.
The Facilities Committee approved this to be presented to the full commission yesterday in our facilities meeting. It's in the amount of $60,000, correct?
That is correct, and is budgeted in the Office of the Director's Technical Service budget in the FY21 budget.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water and Sewer Commission enter into a joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey in the amount of $60,000 for the continuation of the groundwater monitoring in the upper Florida aquifer.
There's a Motion is a second.
I'll second.
Chairman, I got a
Questions,
question.
comments?
Yes. Just a question to Mr. Burrows. As we're looking at, what you provided to us, why did it cost so much in the previous years for this? What was the reason for that, all that? They give you a reason?
Yes, sir. For the years it was so expensive, they were increasing the modeling and sampling rates to calibrate the model for different scenarios. They ran 6 scenarios, based off of the draws from the industries, ourselves, and everyone else, like say Jekyll. And, now that the model has been calibrated, this is just to continue updating the sampling.
I think the other issue is that they knew we were getting tired of paying that much money, so they cut it in half.
That's probably true.
That's history I'm aware of. I've sat through that briefing enough.
Oh, okay. That's all I got, sir.
Well, it really tells us about our system though, and
Yep.
we need to keep abreast of that saltwater plume.
The good thing is it hasn't moved a whole lot in the last 7 years, so hopefully if we keep monitoring, it'll stay where it's at.
We'll take your answer.
Any other questions? Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is leak adjustment. Mr. Burrows?
Sir, we had a customer on St. Simon's Island had a significant leak at their house. According to county ordinance, any leak adjustment over $2,000 has to be approved by the commission here. All the paperwork's been submitted, the leak has been repaired, usage has gone back to normal, but the leak adjustment is $2,137.81. This was presented to the Finance Committee yesterday.
And it was recommended for approval by the Finance Committee, and as such, I'll offer the motion today. I'll move that the Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve the leak adjustment in the amount of $2,137.81 to the account of Mr. Bob Brown as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions?
So it looks like the leak adjustment was actually less than 2,000, but with the late fee, it made it over.
Yes, sir, because until the leak adjustment is handled, the late fees are automatically charged, so those come off as part of the adjustment.
Gotcha. I just, my goal would just be stuff like this that Andrew can handle. It just seems silly to me to bring before the commission, but that's the rules, that's the rules.
One of the things we talked about yesterday was when we get the new meters in, that we're going to be flagged very early on a leak. And so a lot of this will be avoided, and we'll be able to minimize the amount of leakage. So we're going to move forward with that. I think it'll be a big difference. All right.
No other comments? All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Appointment of auditor, Mr. Donahue.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The JWSC is required to have an annual financial audit, and under an RFP issued, the firm of Malden and Jenkins was selected for a 3-year term for the audit beginning in June 30th, 2018 and 19, and now the third option year is 6/30 of 20. The cost for each of those 3 years was a flat fee of $19,900 each of those years. Attached to this document is the actual engagement letter for the accounting firm, the timeline for performing the audit, and the services that will be performed during that audit period. This was reviewed by the Finance Committee yesterday with the request that a representative from the auditing firm attend the second meeting in July as an entrance meeting with the Commission to address any issues that the Commission may have in them performing the audit for this year. The Finance Committee, the Finance Committee reviewed this yesterday and recommends it for approval by the Commission today.
And I'll move that the JWSC engage the accounting firm of Malden and Jenkins to perform the financial audit of Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water and Sewer Commission for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020 at the cost of $19,900.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
That completes the approval section. We'll move to the discussion item. Coastal Club Revised Comprehensive Agreement. Andrew, do you want to address this?
Yes, sir. Be happy to address. At yesterday's Facilities Committee meeting, we discussed this proposed comprehensive agreement amendment that would change the timing of the project completions and allow for certificates of occupancy to be released at the completion of the first phase of the project. After consideration of what the commission has requested, we have been negotiating with them concerning the deadlines on when those projects would be completed, as well as potential penalties if the projects are not completed on time. Most recent discussion would be to have projects 1 and project 2 completed prior to certificate of occupancy being released. And then project 3 to be having a specific timeline. However, that has not been agreed to by both parties as of yet.
So you'll be getting back with the
Yes, sir. We'll be in close communication with the developer and their representatives.
How far away are they from needing?
August 1st. So we have a pretty short timeline. Luckily, the first 2 phases of the project, once approved, should move very quickly. The engineering is 99% complete, and we should be ready to move forward with the project very soon.
What do we have to do to complete our side of that equation?
For our side, we have to review the submitted documents. So far, we've gotten those back to them. There's one more submission we're waiting on. And then as far as the official agreement of when the certificate of occupancy will be released, as far as any deadlines, that would be presented to the Facilities Committee at the June meeting.
Is that an early June meeting or a late June?
Facilities Committee typically is the 3rd Wednesday of the month.
First one is canceled now, yeah. Do we anticipate this negotiation holding up their projected occupancy?
No, sir, we believe we can get this done in plenty of time so they can get the first 2 phases at least done by August 1st.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have the representative engineer, Jonathan Roberts, here. He would like to make a statement.
statement, Jonathan.
Commissioners, I'm Jonathan Roberts. Thank you for the time today and your service to the community. One thing that would be amazing if we could make it work out, if we could go ahead and get the pipe on order and the pumps on order in order to facilitate the timeline. That would be a huge help to make sure that this is operational by August 1st. The challenge is the current agreement proposes to go through joint water procurement. I think the new agreement proposes for that to be done by the developer. If we could get the commission's approval to proceed with those 2 critical components, then we'd be able to meet the timeline, I think, with no trouble, and it would give us ample time to work out the details of the engineering. But we know that there's new pumps and we know that there's new pipe. If we could get that moving forward, it would really help.
The cost estimates for the project 1 and project 2 are below the bidding requirement under statute. They're both under $100,000, so those 2 projects wouldn't have to be bid.
I don't think the staff has a problem. I don't want to speak for the staff so far as going ahead and pre-purchasing the pumps and the force main materials.
Okay.
Regardless of the way the agreement works out, those portions are still going to have to be completed either way. So I think staff would be fine with
Pumps
that.
for both pump stations, and we know the force main size.
Yeah, and would there be any opportunity for some of the force main work to actually start? Because I think that's also, you know, that's.
I'll offer thoughts on that, Jonathan, is I think the commission, and I'm only one vote here, but I think the body here is interested in your project and wants to be very pro-business, and particularly as it develops new residential facilities for people moving to our community that we'd like to house. So I think all of us would be very supportive to that. If we need to have a working session or something with a few folks. I think we'd be amenable to making that happen, so we aren't back and forth on negotiations. And then the other is anything that, whether we self-perform as the utility or the developer performs it, as Andrew suggested, the pipe and pumps have to be purchased. So I think we can work this thing through and meet the timeline for those initial leases. I don't know what your total lease is. Jason, I think you mentioned yesterday it was a 9-month lease out period.
9-12, that's correct.
So, you know, without looking at the details and recognizing that at least one of these projects is going to require some bidding involved, and given that half of the timeline has been consumed, I suggest we're in a place where none of us want to be, and that's critical path. And so we'll do what's reasonable to be able to accommodate basically the end user, which are going to be residents.
Great. And it sounds like that could be a staff level decision for getting those materials, those critical timeline on the materials.
In my view, it is.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
And what about the force main? You had mentioned starting the force main, getting that lined up. Where are we on that?
Right now, we're close to starting that. It's just, like I said, a couple of minor things on the plans that's got to be corrected. I don't think staff has any problem. Again, that project's got to be completed either way. So, and it was part of the original agreement that hasn't been revised yet, so the project could move forward under that at the very least.
Yeah. Our biggest concern was that the original agreement proposed all of it to go through JWSC procurement. Now we're pulling off two critical portions of it that are under that $100,000 threshold. And if staff could allow us to move forward with construction of that after all the last design tweaks are made, it will allow us to meet the time constraint.
Yes,
I'm okay with that.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I am.
And I want to add to that, I'm absolutely good with that. I mean, I want us to be pro-business. I think we should be, and we should be able to be reasonable and allow, you know, the executive director to do certain things to help us more. But I want to go back to something we approved earlier, which is a credit for $2,100 that the executive director, we're not giving him authority to do. So, I mean, I think we ought to look at that too and say, how can we be more friendly, not only to our developer, but also to our general residents? And if there's an opportunity for something like a credit to be given and not hold an employee up, I mean, a citizen up for 30 days until they can get in front of the commission to get a credit on for their leak adjustment, why don't we fix those policies so that we can continue to do stuff like that as well?
we can certainly bring forth an ordinance revision suggestion for y'all to review, and then, if passed, go to the city and the county for their approval as well.
I think that's good, Commissioner Stevens. I think before, we was, as we move forward, I think we're tightening up our ordinances and tightening up our procedures and so forth. So that's one of the reasons why I guess somebody's coming here, and we gotta, I think, our staff is great, and I think the commission is leading into that direction. So as we continue to go forward, I think we will see some little inconsistencies, something that we can tighten up anyhow, so.
Yeah, that's all I want us to do is look at those type of things, see what else we can do to be more
efficient,
to do business with, and more efficient. Yeah.
Thank you for your consideration. We really, really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to the executive director's update.
Yes, sir. The Splice Pump Station 4003 rehabilitation job, the bids are out for that and will be received on June the 2nd. So expect a recommendation for award at the next Facilities and Finance Committee meeting to move forward on that Splice project. As the chairman updated earlier, the ARCO engineering proposals are out right now. RFP responses are due on June the 16th for that project. Our annual town hall meetings are typically scheduled the Tuesday and Wednesday, the second week of June. However, with the moved primary date, we had to relocate the Tuesday meeting. So we're going to have our town hall meetings on June the 10th and 11th. June the 10th will be currently scheduled at the casino on St. Simon's Island, pending official approval of that building. And then the 6/11 meeting will be held here in the commission chambers. Certainly, we will be prudent with our spacing, and it will be broadcast online for people that are unable to attend. We did, and we're only able to recognize him today. He'll be recognized at the June commission meeting. We had an employee in the water meter reading group retire, Mr. Rafael Fonseca, who has retired after more than a decade of work with us. And like I said, he will be recognized at June once things get a little closer back to normal. And my final piece is to officially recognize, this has been announced on our website and press release and in the newspaper, but we have named Ms. LaDonna Roberts as our new Deputy Executive Director. She will be responsible for finance, administration, and purchasing.
Ms. Roberts, we certainly look forward to working with you. So far as our updates, you know, our meetings are getting shorter, and we're getting a lot of things accomplished in our facilities. And because of this COVID thing that's going around, I would propose or would like to make a motion that we only have our June, the second meeting in June, and also in July, we only have the second meeting in July. Now, that's close to July 4th weekend. But I wanted to throw that out to the commissioners and see if y'all feel the same way, or if you feel like we need to have 2 meetings a month for the next couple of months.
I'll second a motion.
Motion second. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Comments? All
I agree with you, yeah.
All in favor?
I agree with it, but can we vote on it?
I guess.
I don't know. I didn't
Yes,
know.
we can do it that way.
Yeah, if we
I
choose
thought the
that.
chairman could just set it. I didn't know we had to. Chairman. Right, I was gonna say, I didn't know we could vote.
The only place it's in mentioned is in the bylaws, and those are not really.
I just didn't think we could just vote on something that wasn't on the agenda is what I was.
Yes, he can set it, but I think.
We were just raising a one-hand hallelujah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Once again, I want to thank the commissioners for the input you've had in the committee meetings. I think it's working out real good. I'm excited about the self-funding insurance plan that we're going to have for our employees. We need to always be looking out for them. It's not only going to level our insurance premiums, but it's going to provide us an opportunity to maybe save some money in the long term too. And so far as the various projects, they're moving ahead really quick. Commissioner Stevens has brought up some things that we probably do need to tweak, but also the staff is looking at our standards and things like that too, to try to see where we can become more proactive and save the community some money. So we've got a lot of things going, and we just want to get as much input from every commissioner as possible. Feel free to call me if you want to, or Mr. Burrs, or Ms. Roberts now. We'll be glad to talk with you and move this commission forward. Does any other commissioners have any comments or questions or anything?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to go back to the GFA loan approval and thank everybody on staff for the hard work that they did to get this accomplished. And I think it's going to be good for us moving forward. I don't know how you pulled a grant out of that, but we're certainly grateful that you did, so thank you.
If you ask enough, eventually somebody will say yes.
Yeah, there you go. So thank you.
Well, since we're rolling with that now, we need to encourage the staff to go ahead and get the next GFA application in for the meters, because those usually do have forgiveness, and maybe if we get it quick, we'll get a bigger forgiveness.
We will hit the August 1st deadline for that application, yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.